Welcome back for another book review. Today I cannot show you the book because it's one of those that's got the wrap all the way around the book. So I am not allowed to take it off because it's an intern loan library book, but I can tell you what it is and maybe plop it up on the screen. But it is The Torch of Brighid, Flame Tending for Transformation by Erin. Aurelia? Maybe that's how you're supposed to say that name? But it's a fun one. So this book talks about, obviously, flame tending. It's kind of the phrase that goes to some of Brighid's followers. And this book talks about, like, if you want to actually start working with her, this gives you actual ideas. We need more books like this. So it's one of the kind of, it's not a Pagan Portals book, but I think it is the same publishing house. It's one of the small books. Like, it's not, it's about as thick as my last one, actually, that I just published. So it's a tiny book. But this goes over the actually, like, what to do. Like, it actually has things you can do, and I love it. So it has a tiny bit, a little bit of, like, who is this goddess? But there is sort of this assumption that you're mostly gonna know. And it goes over, like, again, just a little bit of context clues, and then it jumps into what to actually do. And she takes a very different approach that I was so intrigued. So she takes the Ogham, which, if you don't know what that is, it's sort of like the Irish runes, basically. It's their alphabet, and it has a magical system associated with it. And instead of, like, from Odin, it's from, how do you say the dude's, it's like, it looks like Ugg or Ogma, but I know that's not how you say that. That is a very butchered variation of his name. But their god of, I think he was wisdom or something. But anyways, so he's kind of the ruler, hence the runes are named after him, but they're the Ogham instead of the runes. Anyways, it's the old writing system. And so and I didn't know this, but apparently they have their own variation of old and new. And so Irish didn't have certain letters and, like, sounds back in the day. And so when they were introduced to it, they had to create letters to do that. So they added, like, 5 new letters. So you have, like, the original 20 and then, like, plus 5. And so this book takes the original 20 and you do this, like, vigil ritual thing with Brighid for 20 days, going through each one, which is so cool. It has, like, a kind of meditation thing to do, and then it's got a journal prompt with it. And then for the other 5, she kind of splits it. So, like, 1 represents the sun, because Brighid's often associated with the sun, and that's there all the time. And then you have the 4 seasons, and they also have a ritual thing to do with it. And then there's also a really cool one. We missed the opportunity, because you're supposed to do it 4 weeks before Imbolc. So, oops. But Imbolc is supposed to be on, like, the Sunday. And so you do, like, 4 Sundays before Imbolc and then, like, on Imbolc or something to be welcoming in Brighid. I thought it was really cool. There's also the concept of the 3 inner cauldrons and how they associate to Brighid and her 3 main aspects. And it was interesting. Like, you start life, like, there's, like, the lower one in your belly that's, like, kind of tilted, and then it'll kind of slide into place, like, when you're born. And that one's, like, the cauldron of warmth or something like that. Then you have, like, one in your chest, like, in your rib cage, and that one's, like, sideways that you gotta deal with, and that's, like, the cauldron of emotions. And, like, in Irish belief, compared to others, you're not supposed to, like, avoid your emotions. All of them are sacred, and it's like once you learn to, like, hone in on that, then that one gets centered, and then you can move to the one in your head, which is, like, inspiration and knowledge and stuff, and that one's, like, almost upside down, so it's gonna take you a real long time to fix it. Fascinating, right? Like, this is the kind of stuff when I go to my pagan books, yes, please. So needless to say, I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 because I think this is fantastic. Like, I'm not really doing a whole lot with Brighid this year. I thought about it for a minute, and then I was kind of like, no, I'm gonna go back. I had a reading, and it was like, you need to go back to working with Morrigan, and I was like, yeah, fair. So I was, like, secretly hoping of, like, how could I do this with the Morrigan as I was reading through this book? Because it's, like, it's intriguing when we start to use, like, modern concepts and we just start to, like, intuitively mix and match things, because this is not a Reconstructionist book. And, like, the idea of tending the flame in a specific way is, like, a very modern approach. We don't know what the ancestors did, and I love that she's like, yeah, we're not about that life. It's about the right now, what we do. I love that. I'm so tired of Reconstructionism. So, like, what do we do now? what do modern practitioners do and how do we do it? And like, it's okay to like adjust things to what you do in the modern day. And I love that. And I love these rituals. And I think if I was going to start working again with Brighid, like this is like the book to grab and work through these things because it's phenomenal. I think it'd be a great way to learn about the Ogham as well, because it's like, I love the idea of breaking them down into like daily things. I thought it was so cool. And so I absolutely loved this, and I do hope to find one like this for the Morrigan. I have a feeling that's not a thing, because like the way I view her is like radically different than like what you typically find. It's like she can be that war face and like death, but that's like one. And it's sort of like how I view Hell, where like she has the same thing of like, you kind of focus just on the skeleton death side, but she's half alive. There's a lot more there, and that's how the Morrigan is. She has all of these other things. And so, and ironically, that does mean I need to work with her more, because I was trying to find books from the library on her. Literally nothing. And I know that they've been there before, and that's always the thing with the Morrigan, is like I can't get access to books when I need to just intuitively figure it out. So it's like, cool, okay, back to square one. That's awesome. So slowly working with her. But I would love a book like this for the Morrigan in like more abstract modern approaches, rather than like very stereotypical little tiny square that they're allowed to live in, that a lot of the Reconstructionists tend to put the gods. Probably not all of them, but most of them. Most of them put the box around every god, like, this is your stuff, that's it. And you can't go outside of it because it doesn't say so in some ancient text that definitely couldn't be biased from, you know, translations and who wrote it down, you know, but whatever. So anyways, needless to say, if you were gonna work with Brighid, you need this book. It is fantastic. I think also if you wanted to start with the Ogham, it might be a good place as well to like actually start to work with them as well. Anyways, I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it's patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, blessed be.